Lexi, your local lightworker. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer. Welcome to ASTROBABES, the series in which I interpret the birth charts of famous female celebrities for your viewing pleasure. In today's clip, we are going to be analyzing the birth chart of Wonder Woman, or as she's more commonly known, Gal Gadot. So Gal Gadot is actually an Israeli actress. A lot of people might actually confuse her for an American actress, but she was born in Israel, in Rosh Hain. I think I butchered that pronunciation. I do need to tell you a little bit as to where you might have seen her. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with her work in Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman the sequel, 1984. If you haven't seen her there, then I'm pretty sure that you might have seen her in Justice League, and she also had a minor appearance in Batman vs Superman. But if you're not a blockbuster lover, if you don't enjoy superhero movies, I'm sure that she caught your eye in the movies Red Notice, where she starred alongside Ryan Reynolds and The Rock, or recently a movie that I super enjoyed, Death on the Nile, a recent adaptation of the classic Agatha Christie novel by Sir Kenneth Branagh. Some of you who are hardcore fans of hers might have known her from before she was famous. You could have catched the string of movies called Fast and Furious, the franchise, and you might have seen a young baby-faced looking Gal in that series. It's so cute. And IMDb tells me that she's preparing to film Snow White, which will have a release in 2024. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, what makes Gal so effing amazing at everything she does? She's not only externally beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous, but also internally incredibly determined and strong. And from the interviews that I could see with her, she's very good with money. She's quite pragmatic. She's the mother of 3 daughters, and she seems to be holding down a relationship that keeps getting stronger and stronger with her real estate developer husband. So what makes her so super? Let's take a look into her birth chart. And because we can sit here and talk about a person's birth chart for days and weeks even, you can always find something interesting to explore in an individual's birth chart. But because I am time limited here, I just want to give you the 5 most important aspects that stand out to me as an astrologer that really kind of make me think about her roles and her life story so far. And maybe if you find this interesting, you can do some research of your own, come back here to this clip, and in the comment section, let me know what else you have found about Gal Gadot. You might be a hardcore fan. You might be here just because you like my analysis, in which case, hey, thank you. And you could just be randomly stumbling upon this clip on YouTube and wondering, what is this? Okay, so I aim to make it worth your time. Before I dive into these 5 characteristics, I do need to show you her chart. So here it is. The first thing you might have noticed is that unfortunately Gal is one of those celebrities on which we don't have a lot of information because we are missing an essential part of her chart, which is her ascendant. We know her sun placement and we know her moon placement, but we're missing one of the 3 big denominators that usually make up a person's exterior and interior makeup just at face value. So the moment when you meet them, the ascendant really stands out, and also as you gradually get to talk to them, the Mercury placement, the solar placement, and also their moon placement tend to become increasingly more important. For the time being, we can only work with what I could find on Astrodienst and on astroseek.com, which are 2 astrological sites I trust and I use quite frequently in my practice as well. We can see very clearly that Gal is a sun in Taurus and she has a moon in Virgo. But in the first part, I want to talk about her sun in Taurus, because not only was she born with the energy of Venus, being a sun in Taurus, but she's also incredibly earthy, pragmatic, and sensual, having her sun and moon in compatible earth energies. On certain websites, I saw that her ascendant could be in Leo. In other websites, I saw that her ascendant could be in Capricorn. So before I actually jump to conclusions based on very little information, I'm just going to exclude a conversation regarding her ascendant. I would say that she has an ascendant in a sign that gives her instant likability. I wouldn't say that she has an ascendant in Capricorn, because that is famously known as quite a heavy, difficult, not so likable ascendant. Ascendant, although it darkens the feature and she clearly has dark features, but this could also be due to her Venus in Aries. But now let's get back to her Sun, because there are a lot of interesting things that we can talk about from that specific placement. Her Sun in Taurus is actually conjunct one of the malefic points in Vedic astrology. This is considered to be Rahu, or what we know in Western astrology as the North Node. You guys know that if you've been following me for a while, I am obsessed with the North Node and the South Node of the Moon, those imaginary lunar points which actually show our past life karma and our destiny, or the dharma that we are creating, the responsibility that we have incarnated on this 3D plane in this lifetime in order to fulfill and to cleanse our karma. So I see very clearly that with the Sun conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which is a position that another famous celebrity that appeared in the public eye in 2022 in a pretty negative light has. This is Amber Heard. If you guys remember, we talked about Amber Heard's birth chart in another clip of mine when I analyzed the Heard versus Depp trial, and I had a brief look at Amber's chart. Amber is a Sun in Taurus, and she has her Sun conjunct her North Node, much like Gal has it, but the difference is that Amber has her North Node in Aries conjunct her Sun in Taurus, and Gal has the different point that she has her Sun in Taurus conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Now, this colors the personality in a slightly different style than we have seen with Amber, and ultimately we are given a certain degree of free will as to how we choose to go about in the decision-making processes as we feel this energy, as we fulfill the energy that is natally placed in our chart. There are a lot of different things I can sit and talk to you here about regarding divine providence, astrological natal energy, and our capacity as humans to work with that, to exercise our free will. We have some of that, but we also have some fated, destined lines or limitations within which we need to grow and expand, and sometimes we need to let things go. Anyway, I can talk about this more on another clip. But closing that parenthesis, a Sun in Taurus makes a person incredibly beautiful, very sensual, very pragmatic, quite stubborn, quite focused on pragmatic details, on what I see, what I can hear, what I can touch, what I can taste, what I can smell. A Taurian usually lives through the power of their senses. They are incredibly touchy-feely individuals. They are very good at valuing objects. They know the worth of themselves and of other people around them. They're very patient, and they don't just jump into situations if they know that they cannot actually complete a project. So as you can see, Gal is very consistent. She's quite a professional actress. She begins a project, she finishes it. There is not so much chaos, not so much drama that we hear about her regarding her relationships with her co-stars. And I would say that this is because of her pragmatic Taurian energy. In some of the interviews that I've seen with her, she gives some excellent advice as to how you can save up money, or make certain deals, or negotiate a deal, or get a bargain, or get discounts. And I think that this is her earthy energy expressing itself in relation to other people. So she's very good with money. She's very good with knowing how to keep it, how to maintain it, how to invest it. And she's also very good at knowing her worth, how to show up and enhance the energy of everybody around her, not only through her beauty, but through the loyalties that she creates with the people on set, through the contracts that she signs, and also through the public image that she maintains. Her public image matters a lot to her, because with a Sun in Taurus and a Moon in Virgo, she cares a lot about how other people perceive her, and it's important to her to be seen as somebody that is morally strong, that fights for her values, a person that is quite traditional. She can be an actress, a successful professional businesswoman, but also a dedicated wife and a mother. To her, all of these aspects are of utmost importance, and you rarely see her with, a hair out of place, or if she shows us barefaced selfie, she always looks drop dead gorgeous, even if she is just barely woken up, right? So we always see this image of somehow tailored public awareness. And I really enjoy that about her, because she shows us that you can still be naturally beautiful, obviously, if genes help. But there is a feeling here that she really takes great care of herself. She takes care as to what she eats. She takes care as to whom she works with. She knows that in order to be successful, she can pour her energy into a specific project and see it through till the end. And I really enjoy that about her. Now, with the North Node conjunct her Sun, there might be some slight ego problems happening there. I think that it's a struggle for her to truly own up who she is. I don't think she's comfortable being in the limelight. I think she's much more comfortable falling back on her South Node. And her South Node is a really interesting placement, because she has some pretty powerful malefic energies connected to her comfort zone. Her comfort zone is not really the most comfortable place ever, because if you have a look in her chart, you can see very clearly we have Saturn there in Scorpio conjunct the South Node and also conjunct Pluto. And both Saturn and Pluto are retrograde. And I also see how the sunset sun is making a tattoo on my skin. Well, enjoy it, guys. You see there two very strong planets. Pluto is the planet of intensity. It's the planet of you grow or you die, you perish, you know. It puts you into these extreme life situations, intensity, right? And then Saturn is all about limitations. You can't do this, you can't do that. You have to be very disciplined. You have to be very strict with yourself in order to achieve success. So we can see that she grew up in an environment rife with secrecy, in an environment where she wasn't allowed to do much or say much or even walk around much. And if you think about growing up in Israel, which is a conflict zone, I'm not going to get into that conflict. I'm not going to choose sides or say anything about that conflict. My personal opinion doesn't really matter regarding that conflict, but what I do need to help you understand is that Gal grew up in a very tense environment, fraught with a lot of limitations, obstacles, with a lot of things that she wasn't allowed to do or to say, a lot of places where she wasn't allowed to go because it could have been something that could have endangered her life. So I think that she actually grew up within these restrictions with a very rich imagination, and now she's using that creativity in order to perform for us for our viewing pleasure. The interesting part is that with a North Node conjunct Taurus, I talked there about some ego problems. She's going to find it very difficult to understand when to be out in the limelight and when to actually hold herself back. Her life is going to be a really interesting balancing act between being quite stern and disciplined, and then also being quite indulgent and showing the world how beautiful she is, giving other people pleasure, but also enjoying pleasurable things for herself. Because I can see very clearly from these two placements that our Gal is a person that takes on a lot of responsibility, and she can actually flourish within some pre-established limitations. She didn't have a good or relaxed time as she was growing up. I can see very clearly that this was a woman that from a very young age, especially with her moon in Virgo, she grew up potentially with a mother that was quite finicky, quite critical, a mother that could have told her a lot of things like, don't do this, don't do that, be careful with this, be careful with that. Now you would say, sure, Lexi, all of our mothers do that, right? If they care, they do that for you. But in the case of a person with the moon in Virgo, it's like they internalize a lot of the mother's fears, a lot of the mother's nervous energy. A person with the moon in Virgo strives for perfectionism. They find it very hard to relax. They relax by doing something most of the time. And this something could be related to making food for the family, creating medicine, or preparing all sorts of ointments and all sorts of potions, things that can help and cure and treat the people around her. She relaxes the most by being in contact with the natural world, especially if we see her sun in combination with her moon. She really needs to be in a natural landscape, to take breaks from time to time, to get out of an air-conditioned room or of her car or of her apartment, and to just be someplace in nature. She needs to touch the ground. She needs to actually be in contact with leaves, with rocks, with anything that is bringing her back into that Mother Earth Gaia archetype. So it's not a coincidence that she ended up becoming Wonder Woman with Saturn and Pluto on her South Node, these really powerful, strong, disciplined energies. She can take on the patriarchy like there's no tomorrow, and that's her comfort zone, guys. That's her comfort zone. Both zone is all about femininity, accepting the divine feminine, praising Venus, right? And in this case, well, in the case of Wonder Woman, it was goddess Artemis Diana. I mean, her name is Diana in the movie. Going towards this feminine energy is not her comfort zone, it's her growth zone, while her comfort zone is the limitations, the strictness, the intensity, the drama, and the danger posed by her Saturn conjunct Pluto, both in retrograde position, which makes them even stronger, and conjunct her South Node in Scorpio. Secrecy, sexuality, and just chaos, emotional chaos and constant change. She's working in this lifetime to fulfill a very stable legacy, a very stable traditional public image. But God knows what goes on inside of her with that in Virgo. A lot of worries, a lot of anxieties, a lot of the need to be in contact with the natural world. Another point that I wanted to bring out, but I find some conflicting information regarding the charts that are available of her out there. Some charts actually show that she has Lilith conjunct her Sun in Taurus. Other charts actually show that she has Lilith in Aries conjunct her Venus and her Mercury. I would go with the latter group. I would say that this is not a woman that has a Sun in Taurus conjunct the North Node and Lilith. That would be too much chaos for a woman that presents such a solid public image. I would say that contrary to what some charts out there put out on her behalf, she has Lilith conjunct Venus and Mercury. This means that she has the archetype of the wild feminine, the unrestrained woman, the first wife of Adam, but also the dark angel that used to kidnap and eat children in the Bible and was vilified, the angel that was made to sleep in the ruins of broken cities. Lilith conjunct Venus, so her Venusian energy sits together with Mercury, which makes her ultra intelligent. But because Lilith is there kind of messing with her Venusian energy, her capacity to relate to other women can be rather limited. I already can see that with the Venus in Aries, her natal loving capacity, her capacity to be beautiful, to indulge in pleasure, to interact with the women in her life can be quite curt, quite quick, quite brisk. A Venus in Aries likes to do things very fast. They are quite impatient. They can be a great friend. They can be a person that can build you up, empower you, but they are not this kind of person that is very loving or very caring or very sweet. They like cars, they like muscles, they like motorcycle rides. Venus in Aries likes to enjoy life. They like maybe even the sex as well can be quite athletic and quite rough and tough. Although I can see that here with the Mars in Gemini, her energy, her Martian energy tends to be a little bit more dispersed. I'm going to talk about her Mars in a second. We see here with the Venus in Aries that her Venusian natal energy is not that well developed. She has to put some work into it, into her personal relationships. With Lilith conjunct Venus, this amplifies the don't fence me in, I'm independent, I'm powerful, I'm going to use aggression if I have to get what I want. But she channeled this Venus conjunct Lilith in Aries energy so gorgeously. The choice of her roles. You can see very clearly how Gal is portraying this archetype of female empowerment in Wonder Woman. We can see how clearly she is caught in a web of betrayal and secrecy and desire in Death on the Nile. And again, we can see her in Fast and Furious, which is a movie about loyalty to a specific group and fast car racing. Instead of actually having arguments with the people in her life, she plays these really rough and tough and badass energies in her choice of roles. Now, I can see that commitment can be quite her comfort zone from one point of view. With Saturn and Pluto there, she appreciates intensity. She wants to give birth. She wants to step step into this transformatory role of the powerful mother, the powerful leader of the clan. And from my understanding, in Israeli society, mothers actually have quite a lot of power because the children get the name of the mother, if I'm not mistaken. I only visited Israel once for my honeymoon, but that was back in 2009, so I don't really know that much about the culture. I do enjoy the food and the weather were amazing there. And the other significant placement that I wanted to talk to you about is her Jupiter in Aquarius. Now, Gal is having some pretty important transits at the moment because last year Jupiter was in Aquarius in 2021 and she was having her Jupiter return, which is a time of great blessings. It's also a time when a lot of things could become quite exaggerated in your life. Depending on the house and the astrological sign where you have Jupiter in your chart, and especially if you have some interesting aspects to your Jupiter, if your Jupiter is square or sitting in opposition with another planet, or it is trining or sextiling another planet, then you will have either a very good year of blessings or one in which your blessings might come to you but with a couple of frustrations. From Gal's chart, I can see that with a Jupiter in Aquarius, she's ultra idealistic. She likes to talk, she likes to network with people, she likes to help people out, she likes to give them advice, she likes to sell stuff to people, because Aquarius, whether you know it or not, is actually the sign of selling, buying and trading. Uranus energy is the energy of advertisements, right? The Tupperware consultant that knocks on your door trying to convince you to buy a lot of plastic for a large sum of money. Sorry, Aquarians, I actually love you. I'm not trying to shade you, okay? I can see here with Jupiter in Aquarius that she had a year where potentially she had to communicate with a lot of people, although the fact that Jupiter has been sitting together with Saturn in Aquarius since December of 2020 might have posed some limitations, some blocks, some obstacles to her development. And indeed, I do feel that Gal momentarily has been a little bit blocked from appearing in the limelight, also because of the fact that she has a family to raise. So I'm sure that she's ultra busy with 3 daughters, but I think as well there are certain blocks to her capacity to develop herself, or for her to actually come across to the public in the way in which she enjoys it. And I'm saying this because her Jupiter in Aquarius is posing a really nasty aspect to her North Node in Taurus, kind of creating a lot of these chaotic communications, maybe even disagreements regarding values, which are blocking her from achieving material stability. We also see as well that her Jupiter is trine her Mercury, and it is also making a really nice sextile to Uranus in Sagittarius. So she actually gets random propositions, random offers and opportunities from people that are international, from people that might live in other countries than the one in which she grew up in. I feel that other people and other cultures tend to excite her. They tend to broaden her mind. They tend to make her feel like she's growing, like she's spiritually developing, because Uranus in Sagittarius is this energy of random bolts of lightning and awakening that come from foreigners, that come from foreign places. And when she has this beautiful friendly energy, the sextile between her natal Uranus, which is also retrograde, so it's supercharged, and her Jupiter, I can see that she has some really curious and fun exchanges with people that she is meeting through her work, potentially through film sets, potentially as she's traveling, and maybe even her fans from all over the world. She actually treasures those exchanges. I feel that those exchanges make her happy and they really make her work worth it, you know? This is a woman that, in spite of the fact that she comes across as squeaky clean and perfect, she put in a lot of work to actually portray this image to other people. So I don't think that it's a coincidence that she won Miss Israel when she was younger. This is something that is not really in her comfort zone. She actually needs to put in a lot of effort to come across as solid, stable, and a moral individual that has this kind of pristine image. When in reality, I do think that there are a lot of secrets behind her persona. There is this air of determination and effort and sacrifice, and also a lot of intensity behind her persona. Now, she does have a very playful Mars in Gemini, and paradoxically, here is another transit that really is activating her chart, because at the moment Mars has been in Gemini for the most part of August all the way up until now, the moment at which I'm filming this, which is October of 2022. And on the 30th of October 2022, Mars will actually go retrograde in Gemini for a very long period of time. We're having Mars in Gemini until next year in 2023. So this is a pivotal energy for Gal Gadot at the moment, in which she's going to be challenged in her capacity to take action, in her capacity to start different projects, but she might struggle a little bit to finish them, and in the people that she has been working with, because Gemini is this energy of exchanging facts, trading information with people that you meet, and these can be any kinds of people. They don't have to be close, intimate ones. They can just be people that you worked with at some point on a project and you're still friendly or you're still in contact with. So it's about breadth. It's not about depth with Mars in Gemini. Talked about another actor that is having this transit, Mars in Gemini, preparing to go retrograde for a significant portion of time, and we analyzed a little bit what this might mean for him. This is the birth chart of Jason Momoa, which I featured in Astrohunks quite recently, so go and have a look and let me know as well, what do you think by comparison with Gal Gadot? What do you think about her chart? What do you think about his charts? Are you guys fans of both of these people? I mean, they played in Justice League together, so it will be really interesting what will transpire next with the next installment that they are preparing, because I think that they're actually filming one at the moment, right? Let me know down in the comments. I'm not a big blockbuster buff. You guys might know more about this if you're a hardcore fan. Let me know down in the comments, and we'll see if we can link this to the transit of Mars retrograde in Gemini. Gal is having something called her nodal return this year. So not only has she been having her Jupiter return last year, now she's having her Mars return retrograde, which is a really powerful period where a lot of her energy will be challenged as she needs to go back over some past relationships, past agreements, past information that was shared with her that might have been detrimental. She might need to also stifle some gossip that could come up and could really spoil her public image. So it's going to be interesting to see what transpires regarding her in the next months in the news. But what I wanted to say before opening this parenthesis is that she's also having her South Node and North Node nodal return. At the moment, we are having the transit of the South Node in Scorpio parallel to the North Node in Taurus, because the nodes of the moon always travel in opposition to each other. And in her chart, it is activating a couple of planets that are not the best kind of planets. I mean, her sun is a very beautiful energy to activate. There's a lot of energy being funneled into how she radiates, her goals in life, her projects, her professional role, because the sun is all about who we are, our ego, what we tend to identify with. With her South Node conjunct Pluto and Saturn, she can be quite strict sometimes, right? So I think that the pressure that she puts on herself to look perfect and be perfect, especially with the moon conjunct Virgo and a really strong, stubborn and determined sun in Taurus, sometimes she can maybe steam over other people. She might be a bit too brisk, too curt. She might cut off people very quickly, or she might be quite judgmental towards what other people are saying and doing around her. So those could be some of her more negative characteristics as I see them coming up from this chart. Keep in mind, I have never met Gal, and I'm pretty sure that she's not watching this series. If she is, then I would be incredibly honored. I would love to see what she thinks about my interpretation, but there are some negative personality traits that I see here, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm not talking here about an idealized woman. I'm talking here about a real flesh and blood human being, and it's important to look at some of the negative aspects as well as some of the good aspects of this individual. So the fact that she has 3 daughters is not a coincidence. This is all pertaining to her North Node in Taurus. It's meant to be for her to spend a lot more time with women around her, especially since her Venus in Aries is not in the best position. I want to stay away from saying that a placement is in detriment or it is in dignity. I know that some astrologers like to talk about these things, but to me they make no sense. I think that each placement of Venus in each specific sign has some qualities and some drawbacks. And if you call one sign in dignity and one sign in detriment, I think it just creates an unhelpful hierarchy, and it kind of stops growth in terms of us being able to understand what a Venus in Aries is all about. Let me know, do you have any of these placements that I have been talking about in this clip? Do you like Gal? Do you enjoy her movies, or do you just like looking at her because she's very, very beautiful? What other qualities do you like about her? What defects have you noticed about her? If you're a hardcore fan, share some stuff with me. I am not really that obsessed with her. I think she's very beautiful. I enjoy her movies. I'm not really into blockbusters, but I did like Wonder Woman, the first movie. Thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait to see you in my next Astro Babe. Take care.